Before I get into this week's video, I have to confess that last week's video was pretty dark. It did affect me. I had a hard time sleeping. I suffer from depression and anxiety, which I'm very open about, and the images of Shanda's corpse is all that I saw when I went to sleep at night. There are cases like that for everyone who loves true crime. One that just psychologically fucks you up. It isn't the darkest story I'm going to be looking at. Chris Watts is coming up, and I'm pretty sure that that's dark as well. But that is at the end of December because I scheduled it during the time of family get-togethers, which was totally a coincidence and not on purpose. I am too much of a dumbass to do things on purpose, I swear. But that is pretty far off, and this week's video involves a missing person. On September 20th, 1988, 19-year-old Tara Calico, a sophomore at the University of New Mexico, went on her morning bike ride. She never returned. A year later, a mysterious photo was found. A photo of a bound woman alongside a child, a woman who looked like Tara Calico. Tara Lee Calico was born on February 28, 1969, somewhere in New Mexico. The FBI document on this is not listed her place of birth. Wikipedia says Belen, New Mexico, but that is Wikipedia, not a reliable source. I try not to use Wikipedia if I can help it, and I suggest the same for anyone who researches anything. It can be filled with misinformation, and this is due to people being able to change things on the fly. Anyways, her parents David and Patty Calico would have 5 kids together, including her. They would divorce when she was a child and her mother would remarry. She would move in with her mother and her stepfather in Belen, New Mexico. Tara was a fiercely independent person, outgoing, caring, and easy to talk to. She was adventurous and loved the outdoors. Nothing in her background or personality suggests that she was anything more than a bright young woman who excelled at school, was overly friendly, and lived your average life. After high school, she enrolled in the University of New Mexico, studying psychology. She had a pretty normal life. No red flags, no nothing. Even her boyfriend, Jack Cole, doesn't raise flags. They got along well. They shared the same interests. Jack Cole himself went to the same high school she did, but they didn't start dating until after high school. They shared mutual interests, so she pretty much was the all-American girl next door. Every morning, Tara would ride her bike down the same paths, State Route 47. Her mother had joined her a couple of times, but after an incident where she felt like they were being stalked by a motorist, she ended up stopping. She didn't encourage her daughter to stop, though, just told her to carry mace and be aware of her surroundings. Tara ended up rejecting the idea of carrying mace. On September 20th, 1988, Tara started away from her home around 9:30. The plan was the norm, a 36-mile bike ride down State Road 47 to a set of train tracks and back. She rode her mother's pink Huffy mountain bike, carrying with her a Sony Walkman. She told her mother that if she wasn't back by noon to come find her. She had plans with her boyfriend around 12:30 to play tennis and didn't want to miss out. Noon came and went. Patty went out looking for Tara. Driving down the route, Patty didn't find her. So at first, Patty thought something happened to her. Maybe she was hit by a car. So she contacted the local hospitals to see if someone matching Tara's description had ended up there. No hospital in the area had anyone named Tara Calico or matching her description. Patty's worry would increase. So Patty rounded up a posse to go look for Tara. When they couldn't find Tara, that was when Patty decided to call the police. So the police search began, which led to nothing on the first day. So the search was halted that night, which then a rainfall came and went. This is bad because rain can wash away any traces of foul play. But the next day, the police caught a break. They found a tire track that led off the road. Police were able to determine that the tire tracks were Tara's. Next to the tire tracks were footprints. Obviously, they followed the tire tracks. At the end, they found a cassette tape and pieces of a Walkman. The rest of the Walkman would be discovered later, 19 miles away, at a campground. Police tried to help, but there was a lot of inconsistencies on the level of help. While they did double their efforts, Patty claims there were a couple of cops that called her with theories. One including one cop that believed that Tara had been sacrificed in a satanic ritual. For reference, in 1988, the US was in the height of the satanic panic, which I might do a video about one day, but for now just know, people would use satanic rituals as an excuse way too much during this time. Police would arrest 3 men in connection with the campground where the Walkman was found. but the 3 men were cleared. This was in broad daylight and on a road, so there were witnesses. One witness reported seeing her heading towards her home around 11:30 a.m. She was 2 miles from home, according to them. Other witnesses claimed to have seen a whitish 1953 Ford pickup with a camper shell on the back following her on the side of the road. One of the people who witnessed this truck said that there was multiple people in the truck, though others have suggested that there were only 2 in the truck. A police sketch was done on the driver of the white pickup truck based on witness testimony, but unfortunately the search ended on September 27, 1988. The investigation, though, was still open, but days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and months turned into a year. Tara and the bike she was riding had vanished without a trace. That was until June 15, 1989. Port St. Joe, Florida is 1,495.1 miles away from Belen, New Mexico. It takes 22 hours and 14 minutes to get there, but it was where a woman who has never been named would happen upon a possible lead to the disappearance of Tara Calico. The woman would travel to her local convenience store. There she would notice a white windowless Toyota van leaving the parking space. The van she noticed was driven by a man in his 30s with a mustache. She would park in that space. She would happen to look down, though, and would see a Polaroid laying on the ground. Once she saw what the picture was, she took it to the authorities. The contents of the picture would lead police to set up roadblocks, but the van would never be seen again, nor the man that was driving it. The photo itself shows a woman bound with her hands behind her back and tape over her mouth. She is wearing shorts and a gray shirt. Laying next to her is a book called My Sweet Audrina by V.C. Andrews. Also laying next to her is a young boy in a white shirt, bound in the same style that she is, with tape over his mouth. According to those who are smarter at Polaroids than I will ever be, the photo would have to have been taken after May of 1989, because that style of Polaroid wasn't available before then. The photo would show up on an episode of A Current Affair, and friends of Patty would inform her of the photo. Patty's friends thought that the girl in the photo bore a striking resemblance to Tara. At the same time that Patty was being informed, the parents of Michael Henley were being informed of the photo. Michael had disappeared from New Mexico in 1988. The boy in the photo was thought to be him. Patty and the Henleys would both go to Florida to see the photo for themselves. Patty studied the photo, looking over every inch, and became convinced that the woman in the photo was her daughter. The woman had a scar on her leg, roughly where Tara had a scar. The book, My Sweet Audrina, would happen to be one of Tara's favorite books. There are 3 analyses done on this photo. Scotland Yard concluded that the woman in the photo was Tara. The Los Alamos National Laboratory concluded that it wasn't, and the FBI was inconclusive. As for the boy thought to be Michael Henley, to summarize his disappearance, the Henley family had gone camping when he went missing. While the Henleys held on to the hope that he was the boy in the picture, a year later in 1990, his remains would be found 7 miles from where his family had camped. It was determined that he had wandered off, got lost, and died from exposure. Those who have heard this case and not dug very deep at least know of this picture. But there are 2 more. Construction workers working on a site in Montecito, California happened upon one. A blurry picture of a woman's face with her mouth covered in tape. She is laying on a pillow similar to the one in the first Polaroid. It was determined to have been taken after June of 1989. This one, Patty believes is Tara, though it's not been confirmed to be her. The second shows a man and a woman on an Amtrak train. The woman is bound and gagged. This one is pretty much seen as a gag and thought not to look like Tara at all, but the family has looked at many photos thought to be Tara. Out of all of them, those 3 were not ruled out. To this day, it is not known who the people in the photo are. It is not known if a crime has been committed or if there was somebody with very sick kinks. What is known is Tara is still missing, and it might be that a boy is missing as well. Valencia County seems to have an issue with police being disorganized. When a Freedom of Information request was submitted for the case, there were things that were missing. Audio logs, witness statements, and other documents were missing, while others were not even organized properly. Considering this is an active case, this does not put very much faith in the Valencia County Sheriff's Department. What doesn't help Valencia County Sheriff's Office was Renee Rivera. Rene Rivera was the sheriff in 2008, and he thought it would be a good idea to go to the press stating he knows what happened to Tara Calico. According to him, he received information that 2 teenagers hit Tara, panicked, killed her, and disposed of the body. The story goes that these 2 teens knew Calico. They were driving in a truck around the same time, drove behind her, taunted her, and then an accident happened. Then apparently these teens kidnapped her. Then when she threatened to go to the authorities, they killed her and had help disposing of her body. So why did Rivera just come out with all this? Was he investigating a lead? No. Who knows why he came out with it? He wasn't investigating the lead because according to him, he couldn't without a body. That was all. He never released statements on what made him come to this conclusion. He at least didn't name the people he thought did it. But he did speculate that if she was buried anywhere, it would be near railroad tracks. A lot of people, including Tara's stepfather, John Dole, questioned why Rivera would bother to release this theory if he wasn't going to do anything or even bother to look into it. Rivera's only answer to that was that he was hoping somebody would come forward who was involved and bring closure to the case. It was also in 2008 that police made a statement saying they do not believe Tara was the girl in the pictures. In 2013, a man named Henry Brown was dying. In his final days, he felt the need to confess. Henry Brown would tell the story of hanging out with the son of a former sheriff named Lawrence Romero Jr. During the time of Tara's disappearance, Lawrence's father was the sheriff. According to Henry, Lawrence had an interest in Tara, but because Tara was dating someone, Lawrence never had a chance. Lawrence was a troublemaker, a drug dealer, and knew Tara in high school. On the morning of her disappearance, Lawrence, another man named Dave Silva, a red-haired man, and another man named Leroy Chavez were driving in a truck. They spotted her biking and tried to get her attention. That was when they struck her. Freaking out, they abducted her. They took her to a gravel pit where they accosted her. When she threatened to go to the police, Lawrence stabbed her while the others held her down. They threw her in the brush and left her there. But when the search began, they freaked out and brought the body to Lawrence's home. In that home, Henry was told and shown the body wrapped in a blue tarp. Henry was threatened to keep quiet, but was told that because Lawrence's father was the sheriff, that the whole thing was covered up. Lawrence Sr., according to this testimony, also found a letter that his son wrote confessing, but destroyed it. Henry told investigators that he believed that the bike ended up in a junkyard, while Tara ended up at the bottom of a pond. Another man who remained nameless backed up the story and stated that one of the suspects confessed to him. But Lawrence had killed himself in 1991, and arrests were never made based on this story. The story does line up with the one that Rivera stated, almost eerily similar, but it adds a conspiracy theory that the police helped cover it up. On October 1st, 2019, the FBI announced a $20,000 reward for any information that could lead to the arrest of those responsible for her disappearance. In September of 2021, Valencia County Sheriff's Office released a statement in cooperation with the New Mexico State Police that they have a new lead on the case. A sealed warrant for a private resident has been issued, but at the time of this video, nothing else is known. If something does come up, I will update this story, but right now, there is no update. Patty passed away in 2006, but Tara's sister Michelle and stepfather have taken up Patty's cause in finding out what happened to Tara. Anyone with information is asked to call the FBI at any of their local branches. I think the photos that launched this case into worldwide infamy are not of Tara. I honestly feel that though they look like her, it isn't Tara, which leaves another mystery on who the child and the girl are in those photos. I don't know if she is still alive or if she's long since passed. There have been cases where someone has gone missing for long periods of time only to be found alive. But there have also been cases where people have gone missing only for their remains to be found. Maybe the 2008 and 2013 updates in this case are right. Maybe she was the victim of foul play, but maybe she wasn't. We don't know. I'm hoping that this case is finally solved soon. The Calico family and the Dole family deserve closure.